Hey guys, this is Jeff with Future Phenoms Baseball Training. Today I'm joined by two special guests. I have Colin over here on my right, he's an SPT. I have Ashton over here on my left, he's an SPT, CSCS, and they are both currently studying to be doctors of physical therapy at Wichita State University. So as promised, we wanted to deliver a video series where we identify common injuries baseball players face and discuss ways that we could, during the off-season training program, that we could help prevent those as much as possible. So obviously you can't 100% prevent injuries when you're going all out, you know, on the field, on a diamond, turf, weight room, whatever. But with these guys here, they're going to explain, like I said, the common injuries, discuss how these injuries happen, and what we can do to help prevent them as much as possible. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Colin. Go ahead, buddy.
With this first video today, we'll be talking about the rotator cuff musculature on the shoulder. In overhead throwing athletes, our rotator cuff muscles work to externally rotate the shoulder and to internally rotate the shoulder while we throw. But their main role is to stabilize the humeral head of our arm into the fossa that it sits in that's attached to our shoulder blade. We have 4 rotator cuff muscles, 3 on the back side of our shoulder blade and 1 underneath that all attach to the humeral head of our arm. The 3 on the back do external rotation and the 1 on the front does the internal rotation motion. In overhead throwing athletes, throwing repetitively at high speeds places significant stress on the shoulder joint and the muscles and ligaments that act to stabilize this joint. The 3 rotator cuff muscles on the back of the shoulder blade that perform external rotation are named supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and teres minor. The rotator cuff muscle that performs internal rotation motions is named subscapularis. At this point in the video, we're going to stand up and go through the pitching motion to show you how these muscles work in real life. So the 2 main phases of pitching that put the greatest stress on the rotator cuff muscles are the late cocking phase and the follow-through phase. I'm going to go through the windup once at full speed for you guys, and then Ashton's going to come in and we'll break it down for you.
Now that Colin's demonstrated the whole pitching motion at full speed, we're going to break that down into 2 extremes. The first of those extremes is when he's in late cock. At this point, his external rotators are working really hard to get that arm all the way back. Those are the infraspinatus, supraspinatus, and teres minor. As those muscles work really hard over time, with each motion, that's pushing the humeral head forward. What that does eventually, after it stretches out the joint capsule, is cause the joint to become lax. When the joint's lax, and it's always coming forward, those external rotators work even harder to keep that shoulder where it's supposed to. Over time, that leads to overuse injuries of the posterior shoulder girdle. All right, now we're going to go through the follow-through phase. During this phase, Colin's in internal rotation. There's only 1 rotator cuff muscle that's working through that throwing motion for internal rotation. That's the subscapularis. Helping subscap is the pec major and the lat. So what you've got there is a difference, big difference in the amount of muscle mass between the front side that's doing internal rotation and the back side that's resisting that internal rotation. As you get here, these muscles have to work a lot harder because they're up against such big muscles on the front side. What that does over time is leads to overuse of those muscles, and when those get overused and they fatigue, then the posterior joint capsule, the structures and the ligaments that are back here, they take that stress, and over time stretches out the posterior joint capsule, leads to laxity, and that can lead to dislocations. So now that we've gone over the extreme phases of throwing motion, we're going to walk you through a series of exercises, 10 of them, that you can do to keep your shoulder conditioned. To do that, we're going to be using the J-band. So the first exercise that we're going to go through is called D2 flexion. With the band anchored down low, close to the ground, Colin is going to take his hand from his hip, his non-throwing hip, up above his shoulder at about a 45-degree angle. You can also think of this as drawing your sword. If you got your sword down on your hip, you're pulling it out, ready for battle. Next exercise that we're going to do is called D2 extension. So the starting point for this exercise is the ending point for D2 flexion. So you've drawn your sword with D2 flexion. Now with D2 extension, you're putting it back, sheathing your sword. Straight across your body, back down to your opposite hip. The next exercise that Colin's going to demonstrate for us is called internal rotation. So what we've got here, it's called a towel roll. This is an old t-shirt rolled up and then taped up. You can use a towel or anything that rolls up. You want it to be about as big around as a soup can. So with this exercise, Colin's starting with his arm out to his side, not all the way out, about 45 degrees out, bringing it across his body. The whole time, what you want to think about is squeezing this towel roll or whatever you're using with your elbow to your body. That helps to engage that rotator cuff musculature even more. The next exercise that we're going to do is external rotation. So you've got the J-bend here anchored at about elbow level. And Colin's arms in this position, roughly a straight line. Doesn't have to be perfect. What he's doing now is taking his hand from in front of his body, pulling that band out. With this exercise, you also want to think about squeezing the towel roll to the side of your body and pulling that shoulder blade back. It's not a huge movement, but you want to make sure that shoulder blade stays tucked back the whole time. The next exercise that Colin's going to demonstrate for us is called external rotation at 90. That refers to 90 degrees of abduction. So his starting position is right here with his hand flat to the ground. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to hold on to the band. So what Colin's doing is simulating the late cock phase. He's bringing his hand from flat to the ground here, back as far as he can. This exercise works the external rotators that we talked about earlier. This next exercise is called internal rotation at 90. For this exercise, you're going to start at the ending position you are in with the external rotation exercise. So his starting point is up here. His ending point is when his hand gets flat to the ground. The next exercise is called abduction. What this is just raising the arm straight out to the side. Your thumb's pointed up in the air, which helps to cue your arm to externally rotate as you do this. When you're doing this, you're going to stop at 90 degrees, which is just straight out to your side. You're not going any higher than this right here. This exercise that Colin's going to do is called horizontal abduction. Your starting position's here with your arm in front of you. What you're going to do is turn your thumb over so that again you're externally rotated. Bring that arm straight back, keeping it flat to the ground the whole time. If you need to have someone cue you to keep your shoulder down, make sure that those muscles on the back side of the shoulder blade are working. This next exercise is called scaption. So instead of lifting the band straight out to your side, you're doing it at an angle to your body, about halfway between, all the way out to the side, and all the way in front. Lifting it straight up until you get to 90 degrees of scaption. The final exercise Colin's going to demonstrate is just a row. Think of this as shoulder extension. You're extending your arm back behind you. What he's doing is starting with his hand straight out in front, pulling back, squeezing his shoulder blades together the entire time. to stop when your elbows get just past your body. So about right there. So all the exercises that we've demonstrated today have been part of a maintenance program or warm-up program. On game days, you're going to do this one time just to get your shoulder loose with about 50% resistance. You're going to do 10 repetitions of each exercise. On practice days, you can do it 1 or 2 times to warm up, and you can also do this as part of a cool down at the end 1 or 2 times. It depends on the shape of your shoulder and how conditioned it is. As an off-season training program, you can do this with a little bit more intensity. Still doing 10 reps, but 10 harder reps with about 75% resistance, so that by the end of the whole set of exercises, the shoulder's starting to fatigue.
We hope you guys enjoyed the information we brought to you today. We want to make one more point clear, that these exercises we showed you at the end of the video are meant as a preventative maintenance program for people who aren't currently experiencing shoulder problems. If you're having problems going on that are lasting more than 2 to 3 days, or problems that a good warm-up or a good stretch can't fix, we advise you to seek further medical attention.
Well, that was awesome, fellas. I appreciate you guys coming out and joining me today. And to all of you out there, we're going to have more videos coming up over the next few weeks, going over different injuries, different body parts, so stay tuned for those. In the meantime, if you guys want more information on our off-season training programs, check out fpbaseballtraining.com. Thanks.